your schedule can become your dream. And every day, from whether I wake up at 5 a.m. and go to sleep at 10, I know that I'm gonna have a 30% of my time with my family, another 30% of my time coaching and developing my team, and then I'm gonna have another third of my time learning and developing from someone like Dean or my mentors. So I call it the rule of thirds.
Yep, same question.
Awesome. So when it comes down to work-life balance, I'm a firm believer in the quote that wherever you focus your attention, the results will follow. So for me and people that are in my office and people that I mentor, I don't even believe focusing on a work-life balance, because if you really, really try and create a work-life balance, you're probably gonna keep going to the point where you might not actually feel that you ever have balance, because balance is perception. At the same time frame, really comes down to time management. You manage your time, you're gonna feel better about yourself to begin with, and at the same time, you also have to give up balance to gain balance later. So having time management and having at that point where I want to work-life balance in the field, that's great, and I'm definitely saying it's important to still spend time with family members and people who matter to you, and you obviously want to have other things that you do besides the business. At the same time frame though, I think it's a lot cooler to go through this model in 12 to 18 months. I think it's definitely a lot better to give up balance so that when you're at that position where you reach director, you have the balance that you're looking for. So that's how I look at it.
It's that work hard, play hard mentality.
Absolutely.
Yeah, perfect. Same thing, work-life balance. I got a family, I got a wife, I got kids, so obviously I need to be able to spend time with them so that I'm happy and I'm positive, and I can still help you guys. So it's about planning everything out, making sure that I have goals, and hitting those goals early on during the week. It makes sense. Go out there and grind Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Because why? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we want to spend that time, with the people that's close to us. So go out there, hit your goals at the beginning of the week, plan it out, make sure that your schedule's wide open. Don't go and get an oil change in the middle of the day. You just literally set that stuff aside, do what has to be done, hit your goals. That way you're not worried about the weekend, you can go enjoy yourself. And that's really what it comes down, work-life balance.
Nice. So I'm being pretty direct about this. I've been asked this quite a bit over the years. And what I've come to realize is that nobody wants work-life balance. Nobody, right? Because work-life balance is working 40 to 50 hours a week for the next 40 or 50 years. So raise your hand if that's what you want. Go ahead, I'll wait. Okay, so nobody wants work-life balance. What they want is life. They want the personal side of things. Family, travel, pets, house, charity, other businesses, whatever it might be, right? So nobody wants balance. They want more time doing things outside of work, right? So it's either you pay now, play later, play now, pay later, or, pay now and pay later is balance, right? So my advice for that being said is two things. One, create a schedule that works for you, your family, your significant others, or who's important to you, whatever your responsibilities might be, making sure that you're fulfilling your obligations at home, personally, at work, right? But mainly number two, what I've seen is people, they don't do 100% of either one in that moment, right? And it took me a couple of years to learn this. What I mean by that is, what I'll see is somebody who hypothetically goes on a date with their significant other and they're on a group meet. They're talking about work. They're talking to their guys. They're answering their phone. That's not quality time. Most times the people important to us, what they want is quality time. They don't want to sit around on the couch while you screw around on group meet, right? So replace the quantity of time and make it much more quality and do what you're doing in that moment 100%. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Follow that up.
understand who you are. So I can only speak to you from what happens to me, because I think advice gets passed around, and what you do with it, it's completely up to you, but it has to work for you. And one of the things I understood was the two type of people when it comes to balance. You're either task-oriented or you're time-oriented. I hate deadlines. I hate them big time, and that's why I prioritize. So I write down all my tasks, and I plug them into a schedule. Raise your hand if you have an iPhone in here. You gotta use that Hey Siri a lot more. You know, I think she's British sometime, or he's Australian sometime, but you gotta be able to create a schedule. On Thursday, I write my business schedule. On Sunday, I write my personal schedule. And I'm not afraid to say no when people ask me for time. So where did I learn how to say no? In the field, when someone first taught me how to use my impulse factors. So that transition just got into my personal and business. And if I have my schedule set and I didn't plug you in, and you ask me for time and I say no, I will schedule you for a different time. So I'm not trying to add things to my schedule to pull me off track. I'm gonna stick to the schedule that I created so I can make sure those things get done. If something really needs my attention, then I'll pause and I'll give you attention, because I find that we live in a world where people are very needy, super needy. And some of these people are some of the closest people to you. So you just have to learn to put your foot down and say, hey, what kind of person am I? So if I give you more time back, what would you do with it? I find that people that ask for work-life balance don't really know what to do with that time. Do you want to go home and have couch time and watch, the Housewives? Do you want to go home and get couch time and stream a movie? What do you want to do with that time? What does the balance really mean to you? So first thing first is identify, are you a time-oriented person? Do you have to get it done by a certain time to feel good? I'm not. Or are you a task-oriented type of person? As long as it gets done, you don't care when and how it happened, as long as it got done. One of the guys in my office, he likes his time, and guess what? He has a high sense of urgency in the field, gets it done, and he's back earlier than most, and he gets out of there. So I don't need you in the office for 40 hours if you can do the work in 10. If you want time back, perform. So for me to get time back, I performed. Right? So you never have to complain about time. So I don't think it's so much work-life balance. I think you want freedom. I think you want the ability to do what you want, when you want, and that comes with earning it. It's not given. People that don't have work-life balance and come in and ask for it, people that leave a business or a company because they want work-life balance, why does that happen? Because they haven't earned it. So if you want time back, earn it. That's my idea of work-life balance.
Hello, guys. I would say I remember actually listening to this podcast, and it's always stuck out to me, this work-life balance podcast. And it was going to, have you guys ever saw like a financial manager or somebody to maybe like a debt collector, someone that's going to help you take care of your debt? Well, what they do is they tell you to tackle the $80 debt versus the $5,000 debt first. And the psychology behind that is we like to cross things off, say things get done, right? So why not tackle the smallest and the easiest tasks first, and then put the hard ones last. Put the hard ones for next week, or get the small things done this week, because you're going to start crossing things off your list, and it's going to start feeling like you're getting somewhere, right? If you give a $2,000 to your $5,000 debt, you're not crossing that debt off because it's not finished, but you feel like you worked so hard. Well, that's kind of what Dan said, is perspective. It's your perception of what you decide to view it as. So start crossing smaller things off and making those your first set of goals first.
Give it up for this panel so far, guys.
Hey.
So when I think about work-life balance, I did this for my office not too long ago. So I want everybody to draw a circle on a piece of paper. And in that circle, I want you guys to put one number for me. That number is 168. That number is 168. 168 is how many hours that you have in the week. 168 is how many hours you have in a week. Now, typically, the average person sleeps 8 hours, would you guys say? So you have about 56 hours there. The next normal person works about 40 hours, so you have about 40 hours there. Then you go over to that left-hand circle, and you have about 30 hours there. So that's typically what you'll have left to do what you want to, when you want to. Now, if you go back from what Dan said is, in order to gain balance, you have to give up balance. So one of the things that most people don't realize is, if you're not where you want to be, or you don't have the time that you don't want to have, it has nothing to do with the system. That has everything to do with the sacrifice. So maybe you're not willing to sacrifice less hours of sleep so you can gain more time with your family. So maybe you don't need 56 hours. Maybe you only need to sleep 42. So what if you sleep 42? Now you give your family 46. So you start to realize where that time is going. And there's 6 most important parts when you think about time management or work-life balance. There's finance, there's personal development, there's business development, there's health, and there's spiritual. So where can you divide all of those things up? Now count your hours every single week. And when you go into your week, say I have 168 hours. Where am I going to spend them? Because a lot of you are spending them on Netflix and chilling, right? So the difference is what you'll really start to do is you'll say, wow, I've just wasted 40 hours and I have no idea where they were. I just wasted 50 hours and I have no idea where you were, right? One of the things that's the oddest to me is great directors like the ones that we have up here, they'll tell you to go complete a task and you'll say, when do I have time to do that? But I'll ask you, why don't you have time to do that? So when you really think about work-life balance, just ask yourself, simplify it into those 6 sectors of life, tell yourself that you have 168 hours to save them, and say, where am I going to take those hours from to make sure that I get a benefit from those hours? So now those hours benefit me versus I'm not getting anything out of them. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Awesome information. How many of you feel like you've got some prioritizing to do? Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably gonna take a little bit of an assessment of your calendars when you get home, I bet. Alrighty, so question number 2. We're gonna skip around a little bit for this one, so I'll call on you. What was the biggest struggle you had when you first opened your office? And because they are the newest, I'm going to hand this one to the rookies first.
Cool. I was actually just talking about this with somebody earlier, and it's thinking that maybe you've made it, or thinking that maybe this is completely different. Act like you're a team leader again. Act like you're an ET with ETs. So if you give yourself the benefit that nothing's really changed, don't think that things have became different, because then if you think things are different, you're gonna try to attack them different ways. And it's going back to everything we already know. We learn everything we use in the director position as an account executive. We learn that as an account executive. It's just now at higher level tasks, but it's the same skill set. So remembering, you're gonna be taking everything you guys are learning today to this position. And do not think it's any different.
Perfect. I think so far this weekend really showed you that recruiting, doing the process correctly, making sure that you have the correct leaders and that they're doing the right things. I think those are some of the biggest things that I've been learning just in the last 4 months. That, exactly what Michaela's saying, it doesn't stop just because you get promoted to ET, just because you get promoted to the TL, AD. You keep going. You still learn the information. You still have to keep applying it. You still have to be in front of your guys. You still have to be learning. You still have to be developing yourself. You just have to keep going. You got to keep working.
Agreed, yeah. It's no secret that the hustle never stops, right? Mm-hmm. We all agree? Mm-hmm. Cool. Alrighty, we're gonna move on to the next one. How do you facilitate a great partnership between you and your recruiter? Let's talk to Meshach about this one.
it took me a couple of years to figure this one out. And the first thing is to understand what your responsibilities are and what their responsibilities are. Steve Jobs said something interesting. I ran across this on a video on LinkedIn, and he says, when you have great leaders, you don't need to give them the same directions multiple times. So all great leaders need a great visionary. They need someone that's going to show them a path, and a place to go, and a way to get there to be able to accomplish the things they want to do. So partnering up with your recruiters, you want to have someone in a role where you don't need to repeat the same things multiple times. You can just give them ownership of the role as long as they earn it through their performance. So I'm huge into giving people time and freedom and to lay off when they've proven that they can be trusted with a task. See, people go through 4 different phases when they start anything new. You go through the directional phase, right? Situational leadership, some of you heard this before. So you're gonna get directed on everything. So I don't need necessarily question at this point. I'm gonna direct you and tell you everything you need to do. If you're an ET today, you become TL, you're gonna go through a direction phase in TL. If you're TL, you get to AD, you're gonna go through a direction phase because the tasks are new. And then you move from direction and you're gonna dive into a little bit more of a supportive role. So now we're gonna start going and bouncing things back and forth. Then we're gonna move into a coaching role. Now I've trusted that you know how to make the move and the decisions. Now it's just where we have a coach-player relationship. And lastly, it's when we dive into delegation. I don't get to the delegation part until the last phase. So developing a partner-recruiter relationship, it takes time, it takes trust, and it takes someone to understand that as directors, we have things on our plate and things that come up that we have to adjust to. So the person in the recruiter role has to be someone that you have as a partner, where they can understand and being able to fill into the places that you're not, to be able to have an effective relationship. It took some time, but definitely figure it out. So biggest advice on that is, establish the right trust, have each other's back, and I don't think you definitely have to be the same people, because it was never meant to be. It was for one person to complement the other and vice versa.
I like it. What I took from that was creating a personal relationship, teamwork, and replication. Does that sound like your position now?
Mm-hmm.
So you're learning all of these things in the field, just like Michaela said. It's just a matter of recognizing that and applying it in the role that you're in now and continuing to do so as you grow throughout your career. The next question we are going to go to is, what has kept you sticking around with this business? Why do you love it? Why is this for you? Let's ask Dan. You look like you really want to answer this question. Oh, Dustin? Okay, Dustin.
Yeah,
All
give it
right.
to the old guy. So I started this business when I was 22, like most of you. Responded to a career builder ad, showed up in Hangback, played a game, found out we were going door to door on commission. And here we are, 10 years later, which is crazy to think about. But I think what's kept me around is something that just never gets old. Like outside of entrepreneurship, the competitive side of stuff, I've always drawn a lot of parallels to our business and sports. And but there's two things that really stand out to me that just don't get old. Number one is the freedom, right? When you get to this point, I think that's what most of you are, working towards based on conversations I have every week in an opportunity meeting. But number two is watching somebody come into business like myself, a 22-year-old quote-unquote knucklehead, and grow not just personally or professionally, right? So like right now, I started working with Andreas in July. He's aged like 10 years, and it hasn't even been a year. And watching this guy go from literally account executive to ET to TL to AD to in 2 months, he's going to own his own business and make 6 figures and put himself in the top 7% of income earners in the United States and own a business and control his destiny. you can't replace that. And you get to work with people like that, trying to achieve that every single day. And I don't care, like, I'll give up a bonus, every suits, shoes, Tiger Woods win the Master. That trumps everything, right? It's the coolest thing in our business. There's a reason why when we promote an AE to ET, we say, this is the best part of the business, because it is. Now times that by 100,000, literally the odds for us to find that person, develop them, spend all the hours with them, and see them get what they came for and grow and develop and, take care of themselves, or they're important ones, you just can't replace it. And if you don't have that in you, like if you don't get that joy out of this business, you shouldn't be here. I'll get to my goals just if I help other people get to their goals, and that's why I've always loved this, right? So I guess that's why, I'm still here 10 years later, right? Acting like a big kid, having fun, I always said that if I wake up on a Sunday and I have to stress out because I got to go to work tomorrow, I'm gone. And it's never happened. So hopefully that helps.
That's awesome. So yeah, it's no secret that this is a people business. What I would advise you guys to do, and I'm sure that any of these guys would back me, is to have friendly competition, absolutely. As we started out this panel, we know that that's a huge part of our culture. But at the same time, don't feel as if you're trying to beat out the person next to you, because we're all in this together. So lift that person up when they need it, lend a hand, help to train their people, give them information that it may have taken you a little bit longer to obtain, and do everything that you can to help that person next to you succeed, because guess what? When you are a director and you need a little bit of assistance, again, these guys will back me, that person who you helped to train their team, to take out their new start, whatever the case may be, that's the same person who's going to pick you up or give you that extra assistance then as well. All right, so one more question, and then I have a really big, deep one, so get ready for it, guys. If there's one thing that you could tell yourself or change about when you first started going through the business on your journey to director, what would that be? Let's ask Dan. All right, okay, that was all Dan.
Cool, thanks. I really wanted that one, but the reason I wanted that one is because I feel that it's very important, and I'm very confident that this is a challenge that anybody who's going to make it up here on the stage is going to go through. So what happens is, as you go through this program, guys, you gain confidence, okay? And you start to really, really better yourself, hit a new level. Every single person in here, would you agree that since you walked in the doors of your company, of working with OSP, you feel like you've bettered yourself or developed yourself? Raise your hand if you can agree with that. So check this out. You're going to continue to develop yourself, and you're going to continue to become a more confident version of yourself. However, at the same time frame, never forget where you came from. Because at the end of the day, you had a mentor, a coach, and an upline who was there to show you the business, and you had people that were able to help you. So for me, the best advice I would give myself would be to always remain humble, because there was a point in the business where I started to actually believe that I was really creating a lot of the success on my own. And when I was taking advice and mentorship from somebody who had actually accomplished what I'm trying to accomplish, I stopped listening. And when I stopped listening, you best believe that my results went away. So the best advice I would give anybody is always remember where you came from, always remain humble, and listen to your coaches and mentors, because they're in a position you want to be in, and they're going to help you get from point A to point B with the path of least resistance, and they've made mistakes. Smart people learn from their mistakes, but wise people learn from the mistakes of others. Never forget that.
Glad that we gave you that one.
I'm trying, I really want that one.
We felt it. Alrighty, so I know that this is a loaded question, and we all definitely want to hear from you guys, and you are all going to be able to share. But because it's so loaded, we're just gonna ask you to try to,
Under 7 minutes.
under 7 minutes, he says. Holy cow. Yeah, just not necessarily keep it short, but give the general gist of it. So the last question for you guys, and then we'll take a couple of audience questions as well, is what is your why?
Yeah, it's an easy one.
Go
But
ahead.
it is a loaded question because it should make everyone cry, but I guess we shouldn't go there necessarily. My why changes throughout, but at the end of the day, it's always family, whether it's from my son, to my mom, to my brother. But I always just kind of keep the little video or the picture in the back of my mind because a mentor, he once told me that within gratitude, no anger, no fear, no anxiety, nothing can exist when you're truly grateful. So whether it's in the field and you're experiencing the no, whether it's here as a director or on your way to regional director, if you can just kind of always remember why you started, which is family, it's going to get you to your goals every time.
Juice.
For me, I wasn't really in a position before this business I was very proud of, and I had a lot of self-inflicted adversity that I created. However, I had mentors and coaches and a support system which helped me go from where I was to where I wanted to be. So for me, my real why is if I can actually be able to impact somebody's life and help somebody better themselves, that's that feeling when I take a deep breath and it's like the air goes in deeper. So seeing somebody, anybody in the audience here who they went through mentorship, they went through coaches, seeing somebody better themselves and gain their confidence, that's like the coolest feeling in the world. So that's for me.
Cool. Pretty simple. Back to the family, guys. Wife, kids.
Shout
That's
her
what it
out.
comes
Shout
down
her
to.
out. She's out there. Shout her
Our
out.
beautiful wife, Marlene, right there. Anybody knows, I'm sure you went home when you took this job and you got that look and you told somebody you were taking this job and they're like, you're doing what? Right? We got bills, a house, a car, and you're gonna do what? So having that support system, you're gonna have somebody that's gonna support you, you're gonna have somebody that's not gonna support you, right? Use that person that doesn't support you to drive you. I have both of them. Obviously, I have my family to provide for. I have my beautiful wife that's going to support me. I have my mom that's going to support me. But then I have my dad that's not going to support me, right? And I use that to drive me. That was another motivating factor, and that's something that I enjoy now. I get to reach out to my father, and I get to flex on him a little bit and say, yeah, I was able to do it. And that's something deeper, and you can't make that up. That's going to force you to work harder and get to your goals. So, find what your why is, create it. If you don't have one, we'll find one for you, right?
I don't have a wife. I don't have kids. Right, so my why is a little different. Now I do have a pretty badass girlfriend. Right, so right, so that's my awkward moment. Right, but I think the why is always going to be those people that are closest to you. Obviously, I want to do things for my parents. My mom's health isn't the greatest. For me, my personal, myself, I'm a free bird. I gotta be able to do what I want to do it, and I'll do anything to get to that point. To not have to ask anybody for anything, to be able to go do whatever I want to do when I want to do it. And a why this has always drove me is I have a pretty badass group of people that I work with in my office, and if I don't get up and perform and do the right things and whatnot, they're not going to get the opportunity that I was given a long time ago. That's always been a consistent why for me is the people in the office, but in general, I think your whys are always going to change, right? And that's a good thing. So, find out what your why is. if it doesn't, I think Mallory said it earlier, if it doesn't make you cry, it's not really a why. It's gotta be that thing, right? If you write down on a piece of paper your why at the top, right? And I always drew this in the office, stick figure drawings, not very artistically gifted. And you gotta draw a wall. The wall is getting bit by a dog, getting a door slammed on your face, getting rained on, getting a cancellation, having somebody quit on you. That's on the wall. If you can't see your why over that wall, you're not gonna get there, right? So whatever the why ends up being, it's gotta be bigger than that wall of crap. Politically correct today. Cool.
Cool.
So, I'm not going to repeat these guys and say your why will change over time, but I will remind you of something. There's someone sitting in here right now that has a why that's not real. And that was me at one point. If that is you, then you got to fix that. I thought I wanted to retire my mother, and I realized she had more income, she could retire me. So that why is not real. So then what are you really working towards? Grew up in a family where the did well was never handed anything. The one thing I found out as I grew and went to school and all this, I found out there were a lot of average people around me. A lot. And a lot of us have a lot of average people in our life. And they don't know any better. You don't know any better, so how else are you supposed to know? So who you surround yourself with can impact and affect your life in very many different ways. If 67% of criminals are born in criminal families. It's not their choice, it's all they know. It's how they know how to take care of things. So if you don't go out and seek anything bigger than what you know, then how else are you supposed to know that you can have more? So I'll tell you what my why is, and as I sat here and the panel continued, my heart started beating faster and faster as it got to me, even got faster, because I get really fired up when I want to talk about my why. And I'm scared and I'm scared of being average. It's the one thing that can make me lose sleep. And a lot of people are very, very average, and they don't know how to fix it. A lot of people are average, and they don't do anything about it. So being average is a normal thing that we're supposed to do every single day. And in order to fix that, you need an opportunity. Some of you have an opportunity you don't know what to do with. Some of you want an opportunity, but the people that are really going to use our opportunity are the ones that need it. And I needed our opportunity to create and fulfill my why. I walk into Walmart, I walk into your average grocery store that's where we live, and you walk in and some elderly person say, "Hey, welcome to Walmart, can I give you a cart?" Nothing wrong with that. That's someone's grandmother. That's someone's grandfather. And the question I asked myself is what was it like for them 30 years ago? What were they doing 30, 35, 40 years ago to be that person today? So ask yourself this question. If the person you want to become doesn't happen, will you be okay with the person you will end up becoming anyway? Because you will become somebody whether you want it or not. And the actions you take today and the decisions you make would impact the person you end up becoming, whether you choose to or not. So if you quit today, you will have to answer to that later. If you give up today, you will have to answer to that later. There will always be room to be average. There will always be an opportunity to be okay. And I never want to have to say no to someone. I have aging parents. A lot of us have aging parents. And the difference between having the nurse come to your house and take care of your aging parent and you having to put your aging parent in a nursing home, it's completely based on the actions you take today and the decisions you make.
Cheers.
So I refuse to settle for average. have great ambition, extraordinary work ethic to believe in what they can accomplish, because I was the person that the odds would stack against. Who wants to go in a different part of the world and learn a different language? Your seventh language and go business to business or door to door and build a business. Name one. Well, that was my odd. What's yours? So what I challenge you to in anything, if I didn't have anything today, we just stopped and I left today, whatever you and I go and do, the only way I will beat your talent is through my will and work ethic. You will not outwork me. Because my will to not be average will always outlast your talent. And that's my why.
Actually, I'm going to be rethinking mine after that.
I'm glad I'm over here.
No, I'm kidding. So I'm going to keep it really short, and something that probably a lot of people deal with is more so being doubted. I have been doubted by a lot of people in my life of being able to reach up to my maximum potential. And so that's my drive every single day, is being doubted, being questioned. Can you really do that? Going back to when I felt the lowest of the low and tapping back into that. Tapping back into that and then remembering where I'm at today, understanding that I came a really long way from where I was. And when you're able to tap back into that, what's going to happen, that's going to drive you. That's a passion that you're tapping back into. So to keep it very short with you guys, it's feeling the lowest, having others doubt me, and knowing I'm better than anybody who have ever doubted me before.
So has anybody like figured out their why a little bit more just from this amazing panel? Right? I think that's what's huge, you guys. But if I had to go into my why, I would have you guys up here for hours, so I'm gonna keep it very simple. As they've already said multiple times, you'll go through life and your why will change. And your why will change based off of where you are in your life, right? So depending on where you are in your life is where your why is gonna change for yourself also. So I used to ask people all the time that if you talk to yourself the same way that you talk to your friends and family, would they still be your friends and family? Really think about that question. So the difference is, my personal why has always changed. And from the very beginning, it was my mother. Because I watched her be a single mother. Shout out to any single mothers or people that was raised by a single mother. And, right? So the reason it was is because she did the best she can do with nothing. And for me, that was huge because I also watched my mother grow up and she was probably one of the illest people I've ever seen. By the age of 14, I watched my mother have a stroke and have cancer. So when I really get deep into why I had to succeed is because I had to fail in order to succeed, and failure wasn't an option. So I realized that if I failed, I failed my mother's health. Or I realized that if I failed the fact that my mother wouldn't be able to keep a roof on her head because at 10 years old, the only thing I remember was that she would go upstairs and she would be crying every month. And I didn't know why she was crying. But it was because she was trying to hide that we didn't have enough money to pay bills. Or I would walk into the house and I would say, man, the food smells really good, Mom. And I would look at the dinner table and it was only a plate for one. And I couldn't understand why. And she said that it's okay, I already ate at work because the best shot she had at that time was at McDonald's. And it hurt me. Because later when I grew up, I realized it's because we didn't have enough food for two. So when I went to the field and when I went through rejection or when I went through college or I dealt with some of the things that these people talked about up here, it was a whole different feeling for me. Because I wasn't knocking on the door for myself. I was doing it so my mother can survive. So when you find that first why, that's your dedication, that's your purpose, because then it was the fact that now I pay every bill my mother has. Right? Imagine the fact that she's on an oxygen tank right now. At 45 years old, she has an oxygen tank that she has to carry around. So she told me that there's a one that's mobile, and the mobile one will not be able to be covered by her insurance, and it costs $5,000. So imagine being able to write your mother a $5,000 check.
Woo! Yes.
Just because of the illnesses that she has. So when I'm telling you your why is powerful, That's what it has to become. And then I realize that the decisions that I make every single day can be passed on and dictated to somebody else. And so that why change? And that why change to my daughter. Right? So if you have children in this room, you'll start to realize that if you're a really good parent, that's something that's big. Watch this. What you do now affects another human being 18 years from now. So you better watch what you do. And you got to realize that you have to sacrifice now so that they don't have to sacrifice later. And I wanted to be able to say that at 3 years old, she was in a private dance academy. The only private dance academy that could be afforded by that type of income, right? So was the fact that my why constantly always changed based off of where I was. And if I could provide for my mother and make sure that she never had not had to have shelter again, or make sure that she never had to worry about food again, or if they tell her that she has cancer again, and I can say I can write her a check for $35,000 to put her in the best hospital the facilities can provide, then that would be my why. Or if I have to figure out and say that my daughter is now blessed because I was able to, there's a book that a lot of people may read, and I'm sorry if I go too far with this, there's a book that a lot of people read that says, when you give in the abundance of life, you'll get an abundance of life in return. So if I'm able to give an abundance of life to others, whether it's through development, through finance, through coaching, if I teach you how to knock on a damn door, if I can do that for you, and somehow, some way my wife reaps, or my daughter reaps, or she gets a random acceptance letter to Harvard, even though she failed that class, but because I gave an abundance of life, then my why was succeeded. And you guys hear it all the time, but it's because you have to celebrate the destination because it was the path to the journey. And I think when I think about my why, I think about all those things that have changed as time goes on. But ask yourself this one thing to help you understand your why 10 times more. What is so important to you now that if you didn't have it, or you did have it, you would give up everything just to get it? And if you knew that, what you guys go through on a daily basis right now in the field, going through talking to customers, none of that would ever matter. Because you realize it's not even what you're going through right now, it's where you're going to right now. And sometimes you have to give up who you are for who you want to be, so if that why is accomplished, if that dream, your dream is bigger than you. Everybody up here says something that's bigger than themselves. So that's what your why has to be. That's what your dream has to be. And 50% of people will never achieve their goals or dreams because they'll quit before they can ever reach them. So don't you be that person that quits on your own dreams or your own why or your own destination just because you get a little bit of adversity. That's my why.